Chapter 11. Ugh. I'm putting on weight. Puck will complain about it again. Emilia said with an upset expression, looking at her slender body she just noticed got a little fat. The contract with Puck included afterbath softness, hair trimming, nail trimming, and... She thought about what to do next, but too many things were running through her head. She slapped herself on the cheeks to regain her focus, and lied down in the bathtub to concentrate. Much more important things needed her attention. I can't continue to be like this, she said to herself as she thought about Naruto and the recent developments that were solved thanks to him. He defeated Betelgeuse, who was in charge of a witch cult branch, because surely the other cardinals would have their own little armies, and he could have easily done it by himself, with or without their help. Naruto did everything for us. I don't want to be a useless girl. The half-elf felt useless for not doing much to help Naruto. Back in the royal selection meeting, she was uncomfortable because she felt the glares from the majority of the nobles when she revealed her goal. Nobody liked her or her goal because they didn't believe her being capable of becoming the king based just on her appearance and her race. But, her new knight, Naruto, helped her so much, even back then when he had no obligation as her knight to do so. He used that strong chakra to silence all the nobles who were disrespecting her. Naruto gave her courage not to give up and another chance to speak up for one more time. Emilia remembered the rush of courage he gave her and delivered a great speech to everyone. He is such a good person who cares about his friends, her, Rem, Puck, and most likely everyone in the mansion and Erlem village. Emilia has only known this person for some weeks, but she already feels very close to him. Perhaps her mind was playing tricks on her, but she felt as if she has known him for way longer. This, however, brought to life a very real concern. The fact that he was from another dimension meant that he was going to have to go back where he came from. To be truthful, she wanted him to stay here in this world, so she can spend a lot more time with him. I wish I had enough strength to tell him that She paused, getting comfortable in the tub and sinking in the water as it reached over to her mouth. Her vision was getting dizzy and her eyes started to close slowly. Her legs felt a little weird, it felt as if someone was starting to grip them. It's nice to have you join our hunt, Naruto-san, Wilhelm said, walking with the blonde boy in the hallway. Thank you, and please call me Naruto, Wilhelm-san, I'm not one for formalities. But I must say I didn't know you were Reinhard's grandfather, it came as a surprise. He said. Yes, he's indeed my grandson. Speaking of surprises, I heard you became Emilia's knight today. Congratulations. Yep, I accepted to be her knight. I will protect her with my life, that's a promise. Wilhelm had a good look at the boy's eyes. His eyes were by far the most interesting characteristic in the young man's body. They reminded him of his wife's eyes, full of life and happiness but capable of turning into steel at the drop of a hat. Wilhelm-san? Naruto wondered, looking at him who had an interesting expression on his face. His voice reached him as he shook his head. I'm okay, he said, walking ahead of him. I will see you tomorrow. Please, take a good rest. Naruto sighed with a smile on his face. Tomorrow will be an interesting day. The knights and mages will reunite in a meeting regarding the hunt of the Hakugi, a white whale that uses mist and one of the 3 great demon beasts. After defeating that whale, Naruto and the 2 girls will head back to Roswell's house to check if everything's alright. Beatrice was left alone in the mansion because she couldn't leave. He shook his head in exasperation. He walked to the bathroom where he can take a relaxing shower, but he realized someone went in when the knob didn't turn. He knocked on the door twice to hear if someone answered him, but no one answered. He remembered Emilia went into the bathroom first. The bathroom was too quiet, so he knocked one more time with more force to hear her voice. His ears could hear the wildlife movement in a forest with precision, so the fact that he couldn't hear Emilia was concerning. Naruto reacted quickly by kicking the door open, entering the dressing room, and dashing inside. He jumped into the bathtub and lifted Emilia out before she can drown in the water. Then, he used a chakra arm to grab a towel and cover her body. Are you okay? He asked frantically, while Emilia was expelling the water that entered her lungs. She was panicking and clinging desperately to him. You're okay now. Emilia's breath was slowly getting less erratic, but she was now crying, the shock of almost dying fresh. She closed her eyes while breathing slowly, she was clearly savoring the fresh air. It's alright. Everything's fine now, Naruto said, rubbing her back. Yeah. Emilia nodded weakly while still holding onto him tightly. He continued to hold onto her, to calm her down. Both of them suddenly realized what they had failed to realize before. Emilia was basically naked right now. Emilia gazed down slowly to her own body with embarrassment, only to sigh in relief when she found herself covered in a towel. Yeah, that. I managed to grab a towel for you, but Naruto blushed with eyes closed, waiting for a slap from Emilia. But he didn't feel any pain, so he reluctantly opened his eyes. She wasn't angry with him for looking at her nude body, but that didn't mean she wasn't embarrassed. What happened, Emilia? I knocked on the door twice, but I didn't hear you. He said worriedly. I don't know. I usually don't fall asleep in the bath, but suddenly. Emilia said weakly, remembering the sudden dizzy feeling she had. She had never fallen asleep in the bathtub before. It's alright. I'm just glad you're safe. He sighed with relief. Can you stand? She wasn't too sure if she could stand, so she shook her head weakly to Naruto. Her legs were shaking slightly, and her arms were too. He can feel her hands tightened in his sweater, not wanting to let go of it. Don't go. I am embarrassed, but, please. She said, trembling slightly. Wait for me, until I change my clothes. Naruto nodded. It seemed her shaking had subsided a little. He helped Emilia up and stayed with her until her legs allowed her to stand straight, and walked toward the dressing room. 20 minutes later, Emilia managed to change her clothes with pajamas, and she went into the bedroom with Naruto. He told her to stay on her bed while he went back into the bathroom for a shower. Thank you for coming here with me, Emilia said with a blush as she looked at Naruto, who had a t-shirt and shorts. Naruto smiled lightly at her with a nod, but he was still worried. Are you really okay, Emilia? He asked softly. I am okay. Don't worry about me, Emilia said with a light smile as she waved her hand, assuring him she's fine. The concern that his eyes showed for her warmed her heart, but he had to understand that she was okay. Emilia, please, don't lie to me. I need to know, he said, reaching his hand for her cheek and holding it. He knew that there was a part of the story she wasn't telling him. The half-elf blushed really hard, staring at his azure eyes and feeling his warm hand on her cheek. He just became her knight, he deserved to know. I've never fallen asleep in the bath, never. But the first time I do, I almost drowned. I think something grabbed me, she said. Grabbed you? Naruto blinked in confusion. Yes, I felt as if someone tried to drown me and kill me. I don't know if it was real, but it felt like it, she said as she began to hold his hand on her cheek with her own. I am scared. Can you stay with me just a little longer? Of course. Thank you, Naruto. I want to talk with you a bit before going to sleep, the half-elf said with a troubled expression as she slowly took his hand and grasped it. Naruto, are you really okay? The blonde shinobi looked at her in confusion at her question. He looked down at their locked hands before shifted his gaze back to her. I'm okay. There's nothing wrong with me, he answered. Are you sure? I ask because you've been spacing out. I was worried about you, she said as she gripped his hand a bit tighter and continued to look at him. I'm sure. He smiled again, placing his other hand on Emilia's head and patting it in an effort to comfort her. It failed as her expression didn't change. I've been through this before, you don't have to worry. I see, Emilia said. Do you always risk your life? Yes, I always risk my life to protect my loved ones. I'd risk my life if it meant I could save those I care about, Naruto said. The half-elf was surprised. Unlike the many people that took that reason to fight, the blonde poured his all to fulfill such a simple but complex ideal. For that, she was happy. She likes that about him. Thinking about his ideals always warmed her heart. Naruto. Yes? Naruto asked. How old are you? I'm curious. The blonde smiled at her. I am 17. I'll turn 18 this year. You are 17. That's really unexpected. I thought you were younger, Emilia said with a thoughtful look. How old did you think I was? He asked curiously. Well, 12, Emilia said. She almost jumped in surprise when his curious face turned into one of pure disbelief and some anger. She frantically gave him 3 fingers. 13. 13. That's even younger than felt. Why you? Naruto approached her. He decided that retribution was in order and began to poke her sides. I'm joking, Naruto. I'm joking. Emilia laughed as he stopped and gave her a pout. She let a small giggle at his childish face. She started to love playing jokes on him after he joked too much with her. After learning he's 17 years old, she was actually happy about his age. Emilia, there's something I want to ask. Naruto said. Yes, go ahead. Anything you want to ask. Naruto glanced back the door, his chakra flared a second searching for anyone that could be listening to their conversation. Emilia, when did you meet Roswell? Be honest with me. He said with a serious look on his face. That was a long time ago. He came to me with the insignia, he let me hold it, and once he saw the jewel glow red, he told me about the royal selection. Why did you join? Because Roswell made a promise to me. Naruto blinked in surprise. Roswell made a promise to Emilia? A promise? Emilia swallowed nervously. He told her everything, what he was, what he held inside him and his life, so, it's his turn to listen to her truths, he deserved to know. He promised me that if I could secure the throne, then surely my wish to melt the ice of the Elier forest could also be granted. You believed him? I was pretty desperate. He didn't tell me the details of how to melt the ice, but I accepted his offer and went with Roswell. Puck didn't object to what I did, so he came with me without saying anything. Emilia said, noticing his eyes are serious. Naruto, why did you ask? Naruto wasn't looking at her. It was hard to say if Roswell was lying to Emilia or not, but Naruto can't even tell if that clown guy is serious or not about anything. Though he did feel the negative emotions of Roswell, he didn't know if he could melt the ice for real. The desperation she was feeling was probably because she lived there, and since he had never seen any other elves around it made sense. But if that was the case, why wasn't Emilia frozen too? Could it be that Emilia had something to do with the frozen state of the forest? He wanted to ask her about it but decided against it. If Emilia wanted him to know then she would say it to him. Roswell. That clown guy is really up to something. He came to the forest to meet Emilia, apparently by pure coincidence, and offered her to become a candidate, and if she won the election then he would somehow melt the ice Emilia wanted it gone. The more he heard about that man, the more doubts he was begging to have. Naruto. Emilia said worried, looking at his serious face. It's nothing, Emilia. Don't worry about me, go to sleep. We have a big day tomorrow, remember? Naruto asked as the half-elf nodded and lied down on her bed. She pulled the blanket to cover herself. The blonde shinobi was going to say a few words and leave the room, but her arm reached out from under the blanket. Her hand grabbed his hand before he could leave. He turned to her in confusion. Emilia, what's up? See, could you hold my hand? Just until I fall asleep, please. Emilia asked with a blush. All right. Naruto smiled as he sat back on the chair and gripped her slender hand. He felt its delicate, smooth touch on his palm. Emilia released her beautiful smile at him as she grasped his hand with two hands now and pulled him toward her. Thank you for everything, she said as she rested her head on top of Naruto's hand and closed her eyes. It didn't take that long for her to start giving in the peaceful embrace of sleep. Naruto watched Emilia as she slept peacefully in bed. He brushed her silver bangs from her forehead, and leaned in forward to give her a goodnight kiss on the forehead. Well, he had no choice but to stay in her room until morning. The blonde wouldn't mind staying in the room with her hand still held his hand firmly anyway so he wasn't going to move and risk waking her up. She was no doubt stressed about the whole almost dying thing. He could tell that she didn't want him to leave her room. He was going to play guardian angel just that night. He was after all her knight. It would be appropriate that he shield her from everything, including nightmares. Have a sweet dream, Emilia. It's about to start, Naruto said, looking at the knights and mages gathered in the room. Well damn, they really want to kill the Hokugei for good. He saw other people who were from Anastasia's camp if he recalled right. It was a surprise that she joined the hunt with Crush, though knowing her she just wanted to be mentioned in history as one of the people responsible for killing a demon beast. Hey, brother. His head was grabbed by a huge hand, huge enough to wrap around the top half of it. He turned to the person who held his skull, but it wasn't a person. It was a large humanoid wolf. He has green eyes, a muscular build, and is covered with short brown body fur with an oblong. He wore black toeless pants, black arms guards, and shoulder guard on his right. I'm Ricardo, nice to meet you. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto said as he looked at the logo on the wolf's shoulder guard. Your logo. I take it you're with Anastasia. That's right. Ricardo said, looking at the two girls who behind the blonde boy. Nice to meet you too, ladies. I'm Rem, nice to meet you, Ricardo-sama. I'm Emilia, it's nice to meet you. After greeting the two girls, Ricardo turned to Naruto as he gave him a great smirk. Hey, hey. These girls sure are lucky to have you, I can tell you're strong. He said. Naruto smirked at his wild personality. You know what, I like you, Ricardo. Hopefully, we can meet again. He said. You have strong eyes. I like it. He said. He let go of Naruto's head when he saw Anastasia. Hey, my lady. So this is the pride of Anastasia Hanshin, the Iron Fang. I see. They all look quite strong. Crush said, approaching from behind Naruto and the other two as they turned to her. Did you three sleep well last night? Thank you for letting us sleep in your house. Emilia said, bowing slightly in gratitude. You're very welcome. I understand your reasons. Naruto observed over Crush's armor. You're fighting too, huh? He said, slightly impressed. Did you think that I'd be able to stay behind and do nothing, but wait for the good news? She smirked. I'm more surprised that Emilia and Rem are joining the battle. I'm joining because the Hakugiai's death is sadly something necessary. The beast has taken far too many lives and caused too much destruction. Emilia said. Naruto-kun has trained me to become stronger than ever. Of course I'm going to assist in this fight. Rem said. He trained you too. Wow, Naruto. I didn't know you could be a great teacher. Naruto waved his hand with a cheeky smile. Oh no, I'm not a great teacher. He said before he felt his sleeve being pulled. He looked down with blinking eyes. He found a little cute cat girl who had a smile on her face. She has blue eyes and long orange hair which she ties into two tails. She has orange cat ears along with a tail and wore a white robe. The blonde blinked his eyes at the cat girl again until she pointed her finger at him with a cute smile. He was confused. Naruto was going to speak, but she jumped up several times. Oni-chan. Oni-chan. Name is Mimi Pearlbatten. The cute girl introduced. What's your name? Naruto Uzumaki. The blonde shinobi smiled, but changed his expression into a questioning look when Mimi opened her arms. It looked like she wanted him to hug her. You want me to hug you? Mimi nodded happily while jumping up and down several times. Then, the blonde accepted her request as he began to hug her as she hugged him back. She let out a squeal when she was picked by him with no difficulty whatsoever. Without hesitation, Mimi climbed on the man's shoulder, nuzzled up against his cheek, and sat in there with her legs dangling between his head. Mimi likes you. She declared. Naruto couldn't help but smile at her as he raised one arm and stroked her hair gently with his hand. I like you too. You look very strong. He said. I'm super strong. She said, closing her eyes when she felt nice and warm feelings from Naruto's ministrations. Mimi, don't go bothering people. Naruto heard a familiar voice as he looked ahead of himself and saw a girl with a white dress. Ah. Oni-chan let me sit on his head. Mimi said with a pout. I'm really sorry for any trouble that this girl may have caused. Huh? Anastasia paused, meeting a very familiar blonde boy who she remembered was in the royal meeting before. Well, isn't this a coincidence? You're Emilia's new knight, Naruto Uzumaki. Emilia saw she was approaching them, so she moved closer to Naruto's back and grabbed his hand. The blonde glanced back at her, looking at her eyes, becoming fearful, and remembered the other candidates didn't really like her appearance. She wasn't ready to meet Anastasia, so Naruto looked at Anastasia. Yes, Anastasia-sama. I'm her new knight. Naruto greeted with her respect, something told him that was the better choice. I'm surprised you came here, too. I see that Mimi started to like you. Anastasia giggled at Naruto and Mimi together. Uzumaki-san, if you join my side, Mimi would love to spend time with you. I appreciate your offer, but I belong with my friend Emilia. She asked me before you. He said. What a shame, I like you. I heard from Priscilla that she wanted you to be her knight, but you refused her offer. I refused her offer because I didn't like her attitude. He said as he looked at Mimi who was still on his head and Ricardo who stood next to Anastasia. Come to think of it, I don't see Julius around here. I would love to meet him again. Oh, my knight Julius. He can't join the hunt with you guys because he's very busy. Naruto nodded before he heard Crush's voice speaking to everyone that gathered. Well, it seems we have to stop here, he said, looking up at Mimi who seemed comfortable in his head. Mimi, you have to go now. No. I don't want to, Mimi said as she climbed on his shoulder and nuzzled on his cheek. Come on now. I don't want you to get in trouble. He smiled as he lifted the little cute girl and placed her down. Then, he crouched down on the knee and stroked her head. Now go, Mimi. I don't want Anastasia to get mad at you. Ah, okay, Naruto-ni-chan. Bye-bye. Mimi said happily while waving her hand at the blonde as she walked to Anastasia and Ricardo who was waiting for her. Naruto waved back to Mimi, and turned to Emilia to see if she's okay. You okay? He asked softly, seeing the silver-haired girl nod to him. Thank you, I'm sorry for having you cover me. Hey, it's alright. I will do anything whenever you need it, Emilia, he said, patting her head gently. Emilia blushed at his action but smiled at him for his help. Thank you, Naruto, she said. Several hours later, the group of knights and mages arrived at a massive tree called the Flagell's tree. They planned to camp in here until the Hokugei comes. This tree is massive. Naruto was amazed looking at the massive tree. He hadn't seen such a huge tree since the Shinju, and even then that wasn't really a tree. He hoped it wouldn't come to life and attack them, that would be a drag. You look like a child, getting excited over something common like a tree, Emilia said while giggling at his reaction. Naruto chuckled at her before he noticed there was a cut on the tree. It seemed like it was made with an axe. Oh, it looks like people have carved their names into the trunk, he said before he had a sweat drop when he remembered how he cut the god tree. Senpu, U-ton Raisin Shuriken. Damn, that Raisin Shuriken was hella strong and sharp for cutting such a massive tree down. He was surprised that the move almost slipped his mind. Anyway, he should be focused on the Hokugei. The Hokugei is near, it will take some time for it to arrive though. How can you tell it's coming? Rem asked looking for the giant whale. Well, I sense a great mana presence approaching here with my Sennin mode, Naruto said, leaning his back against the tree as he looked at Rem and Emilia. I'm 100% positive that the Hokugei will arrive here soon enough. So, Naruto, Rem said as she walked toward him. Have you fought big monsters in your world? Oh yeah. That was quite a while ago when I fought in the 4th Shinobi War, Naruto answered. I fought some big monsters, that's when I and Kurama became official partners, to face them together. I see, you are talking about the Bijus, am I correct? I remember you told me that a person used a mind-controlling technique to manipulate them, Emilia said. That's right, the blonde said with a smirk. Emilia and Rem blinked their eyes at his story. They almost couldn't believe his story, that perhaps he had made it up. But the emotions in his eyes were real and they didn't have a reason to not trust him, since he had said nothing but the truth from the beginning. So, while the whale was heading their way, Naruto brought them with him to find Wilhelm, who he wanted to speak with, and they followed since they had nothing better to do. The three found him at a flower field while he seemed to be in deep thought. Wilhelm-san, Naruto called him as the old man turned to see him. I heard a story from Ferris, I think you might be familiar with it. A man that seeks revenge on the Hokugei ever since it took his wife. Please forget that. That was time wasted away by delusion, he said with a far look on his eyes. You love your wife deeply, don't you? Rem asked with a smile. Indeed, I love my wife more than anyone and anything, no matter how much time passes. My wife was a woman who loved to look at flowers, Wilhelm said, turning to look at the flowers. She never wished to wield a sword, but the sword loved her more than anyone. With no choice but to live for the sword, my wife accepted her fate. When I married her, I took it from her, forcing her to abandon the title of Sword Saint. But the sword would not allow her to do that. He finished the story of his wife, and turned to Naruto as he stared at his azure eyes. Naruto Danono. Naruto Uzumaki, you have the same eyes my wife had. She was a great warrior, and had a good heart. She wore a smile even in the worst of times. She was so happy. I'm honored, but please don't say it like that. I think you might be comparing me to your wife, Naruto said with a light-hearted laugh as he scratched the back of his head lightly. Your wife was a stronger warrior than I'll ever be dash. And even when you owe nothing to this world you still help it, just as she would. Wilhelm smiled with his eyes closed, surprising Naruto and the other girls. He gave them a warm chuckle. The eyes are the windows to the soul. Yours are strong, fearless, and selfless, the qualities of a true warrior. I can only imagine what you fought through to get those eyes. His eyes were open, continuing to look at the blonde. Wilhelm, did you tell Dash? Your secret is safe with me. Believe me. I swear I won't tell anyone about your secret. He said. I hope you don't mind if I ask you this. Can you tell me about your parents? Hearing his question, Naruto had a great smirk. My father was a badass shinobi. And my mother was a strong kunoichi. I will become a bigger badass and a stronger shinobi than both my parents. He said. Sure, he was ridiculously strong compared to both of them, but his parents were still great people who sacrificed everything they had to protect their only child. That was going to be hard to top off in his eyes, but he was not going to stop trying. Wilhelm couldn't help but had to smile at the blonde shinobi. This boy was special. An hour has passed ever since everyone managed to set the preparations for the Hokugei. Everything was quiet in the night as the cold wind traveled through the grass field. They kept their eyes open and were ready to launch an attack any second. It's here, Naruto. Kurama said. Naruto's eyes opened, he looked at Crush who waited for his signal, seeing as he was the best sensor. He nodded to her as she ordered everyone to prepare an attack for the incoming Hokugei. Crush felt the wind, she can feel it coming here now. She looked at the blonde, seeing him calm as he waited for the Hokugei. She noticed his eyes changed into a toad's eyes. He was so calm gazing up to the sky. Amazing, considering he knew that the Hokugei was coming. Above. One soldier yelled. It came from the sky, under the bright light of the moon. A gigantic white body flew above the knights and mages, and they felt the great power from it. It's a white whale with a horn on its forehead. It has two long flippers and a glowing pink wheel-like magic on its back. It was supposed to allow the beast to fly. Crush looked at the size of Hokugei with a shocked expression, but her expression changed to a serious one. She was in command here. Troops dash. Al-Huma. Emilia and Rem shouted at the same, shooting ice spears together at the Hokugei. The combined attack pierced through its chin deep enough to draw blood. The Hokugei howled in pain. The surprises were not over, however, when a loud boom resounded through the field when no one other than Naruto jumped to ridiculous heights, leaving a crater where he once stood. Senpu, Cho Odama Rasengan, Sage Art, Massive Rasengan. Naruto came crashing down on its back with Massive Rasengan, and though it did enough damage for the beast to cry in pain, it seemed that somehow the attack was slowly dispersed by some form of hair in the Hokugei's back. In a burst of wind, the Hokugei expulsed Naruto off itself. He just landed elegantly despite the fact that he just fell hundreds of feet. Crush and the troops watched in amazement as the three went up ahead of them. Crush saw Naruto raising his arm to her while running and smiling. That blonde. He's a crazy, reckless fool, it made her grin in determination. Troops. Follow those three fools. She ordered as the troops charged the Hokugei. There were magic cannons right behind the mages, preparing to launch an attack at the beast. Then, they fired the magic cannons, reaching the Hokugei in the sky, and directly hit its body everywhere. Naruto watched the magical cannons shoot and got amazed at the weapons they used in this world. Sure, he had seen cannons in his world because he saw a ship that used them, but he had never seen magical cannons. Naruto-kun, they're going to use Night Banisher. Close your eyes. Rem warned. The blonde nodded as he closed his eyes. He heard they fired it already, and opened one eye to see. The ball of light fired up into the sky and released the brightest light. That flare is so damn bright, and Naruto could see everything as if they were in the middle of the day. He had to admit that magical technology is amazing. Now, the Hokugei howled in a rage after being hit by the magical cannons. Its eyes rolled down and found a new target on the ground. It was a blonde boy. Its massive body started to dive downwards, chasing him. But, the blonde shinobi dodged the giant jaw with pure speed and punched it on the right side of its face with his fist. He continued to do hand-to-hand combat, delivering punches and kicks accompanied by a huge boom. Naruto delivered the last sage-powered kick as he heard Hokugei howling in pain, and began to slide on the ground. He started to chase after it, but someone did a job for him when he saw Wilhelm riding a ground dragon in front of the Hokugei. His eyes were furious, and he had a sword ready to strike. For 14 long years, I have dreamed of nothing but this day. Fall here, and leave your corpse behind, like the monster you are. He yelled with rage, jumping into the air over the Hakugi, he struck his enemy by stabbing on its head. Hakugi felt the sword strike and began howling in pain as it flew into the sky. It tried to get rid of him by shaking wildly. Wilhelm slashed everywhere, not letting his enemy go. He was filled with rage and was going to keep slashing until it dies. Amazing! Naruto thought with an amazed expression as he watched Wilhelm fight the Hakugi. His strength is amazing. He doesn't have magic in him, but he can fight without it. Kurama was right about Wilhelm all along. This old man is dangerous and skillful. Then, Naruto was shocked when he saw Wilhelm fall off the Hakugi's tail. However, he was fine because his ground dragon ran toward its owner and saved him from falling to his death. As Wilhelm rides on it, he turned and evaded the Hakugi. Ricardo, the wolf guy, charged toward the Hakugi before he slashed its teeth with his hatchet. He turned his wolf to let Mimi and her brother attack the white whale. They shouted their magics, combining them into together to build up power against the Hakugi. Troops, fall back! Crush yelled, raising her sword as a light glowed on the blade. She swung her sword once, an invisible blade flying toward Hakugi, it slashed it, like an invisible wind jutsu. Fire! Aim at its flank! She called out to the mages as they gathered fire magic together. Algoa! They fired a massive inferno at the Hakugi, damaging the wounded spot as the spells exploded over its body. What kind of sword is that? Naruto asked. A phantom sword, with no regard for range. That is Crush-sama's sword art, famous for its 100-man strike. Rem said with a concerned expression after she watched the Hakugi being hit by fire magic. Hopefully, that attack will ground it. She was disappointed almost immediately as it managed to survive from combined fire spells. We used all of our best attacks right from the get-go. And that didn't make it fall, it's a lot tougher than we thought. Ricardo said. I guess the magic attacks won't work. In that case. Naruto's eyes turned sharp as he looked at Ricardo and the troops. Ricardo. When I make the Hakugi fall to the ground, attack with everything you got. Oh. I see. Then, I will go along with your plan. Ricardo smirked. And, if you see the light magic, fall back as far you can. He said as he began to charge after Hakugi. He crossed his fingers, creating a lot of clones to fight along with him. All of them were opening their hands to create Rasengan as they jumped into the air. Since they're all in Sennin mode, their Rasengans have grown to massive sizes. All of them held massive Rasengan, preparing to take Hakugi down on the ground, and allow Ricardo and the troops to attack it. Senpo Cho Odama Rasen Terengan. They struck the Hakugi, combing their attacks, and resulting in an enormous amount of damage. Their massive Rasengans managed to stun the white whale down on the ground as its massive body slammed on it. Naruto saw Ricardo and the troops started to attack the Hakugi when it slammed on the land. So, he told one of the clones to send him up into the sky higher before the whale flies again. Fighting the Kauji was pretty easy for him. He could have killed the thing with one attack at the very start of the fight if he desired, but what would be the point of all the army and painting a target on his back? He opened his palm to create a futon Rasen Shuriken to end the hunt. The blonde shinobi began to dive down, holding the futon Rasen Shuriken, and aiming at the Hakugi by throwing it. He yelled at Ricardo and the troops to fall back from his attack. Naruto was prepared to throw the Rasen Shuriken, but something seems odd to him when he saw Hakugi's eyes turning red. Suddenly, its body released some kind of mist, covering the whole area. He clenched his teeth, throwing the Rasen Shuriken at the Hakugi now before it was too late. The shinobi saw the white whale evade his attack, but his eyes were still sharp. The Rasen Shuriken expanded to catch the dodging Hakugi. He heard its painful howling as he landed in the mist. He's pissed. Naruto said, looking around the mist to search for the troops. He can't see through with this thick magical mist, so he's going to have to find them on his own. It disappeared. Emilia looked around in the thick mist after the Hakugi released it. She felt a familiar blast coming from the mist and a loud howl. Naruto must have used the Rasen Shuriken to destroy the Hakugi until it released the mist. She can tell that the Hakugi is still alive. The loud howling is hurting her ears. Emilia-sama, we're going to move. Hold on tight. Rem said as she started to ride an earth dragon. Both of them moved forward to find the other groups. They can't see any of them in the mist, it was too thick. Emilia? Rem? The half-elf and Blue Oni heard a familiar voice coming from their left side. They sighed in relief seeing the blonde shinobi, running next to their land dragon. He smiled at them when he found them after Hakugiai released the mist. Are you okay? Emilia asked in concern. I'm okay. We have to regroup with Crush and stay together before Naruto saw the mist blast, coming toward him and the two girls. Both of them dodged the blast by going on the right. That blast of mist was very strong. They looked down at the ground. It was completely destroyed by the blast. It was almost like a heat ray. The three would have to be careful of the Hakugiai's attacks or else they'll end like that. Emilia and Rem followed Naruto because he still had Sannin mode and his sensory abilities can find the rest of the army. While they're running, there were knights and mages screaming in fear and pain, getting killed by the Hakugiai. That's not good. In that case, Naruto thought, crossing his arms in an X shape, they glowed yellow. He then swung both his arms, creating the powerful wind that blew the mist away, and cleared a large circle. After clearing the mist, Naruto and the other two could see Crush with her troops. He also found Wilhelm, Ricardo, and others. Crush was glad to see them alive from the mist. You three alright? She asked as the three nodded to her and she looked at one of the knights. How many men did we lose? My unit has 20 men left. We're short 3. Who was lost? I don't know. Naruto swore that there were more men than that. He saw it, but now they don't remember how many men died in the mist. Mist? Hakugiai's mist? That's it. That must be Hakugiai's ability. The Mizukage had a very similar ability from what he knew, and along with that ability was perhaps a genjutsu that affected those within, making them forget about their people. Well, that ability is too dangerous for everyone here including himself. There's a chance that if people get hit by the Hakugiai's mist, the others won't remember them. The blonde shinobi clenched his fists, remembering the past, the war, and the death of so many ninjas. Naruto was going to speak until a loud screech cut him off. The pitch was very high, forcing everyone to clamp their ears to stop listening to it. This sound was terrifying and evil. Some men fell off their land dragons from the loud screech, screaming with fear, and trying to kill themselves to ignore the screech. Naruto summoned clones to stop those men who tried to kill themselves. All of the clones stopped them from killing themselves, but they couldn't calm them down. Their minds were out of control. Everyone seemed to be having mental breakdowns. Ferris was on his way to help them. He used his healing magic to remove the effect of the mist. Emilia. Rem. The real Naruto said, running toward them as he checked on them. I am okay. Emilia said. That screech was made by the fog, it's directly attacking our minds. Rem said, holding her head and trying to fight it back. But, I'm fine now. I will calm down in a moment. Naruto was really calm trying to find a way to destroy the Hakugiai. His Sennin mode is running out of time. He can still throw the Raisin Shuriken without needing Sennin mode because he mastered it and had 6 paths chakra in his system. However, the Raisin Shuriken still needed a target and the mist had the exact same magical signature as the Hakugiai, which his sense couldn't distinguish as the whale was in constant movement along with the mist. He's going to have to use Bijou mode to take down the Hakugiai. That would paint a target on his back but he couldn't allow more people to die. Emilia, Remington. You two stay here and recover while I'll draw the whale away and buy you some time. Naruto said. Wait, Naruto, said Emilia, getting off the land dragon as she approached the blonde. Go with Remington. I will stay here and help everyone I can. Can you? He looked at Rem who had a smile on her face and nodded. He started to walk with Rem to her land dragon. Before Naruto went away, his sleeve was pulled by a hand and he turned his head to see Emilia. He saw her place her hand on his heart. May the blessing of the spirits be with you. She prayed to Naruto. Be careful, Naruto. Come back to me. Naruto smiled at her, patting the half-elf on the head. Always Tebeo. He said as he got on the land dragon with Rem and the blue maid started to ride the land dragon. Naruto-kun, what's your plan? The blue Oni asked. My Sennin mode has a time limit. It'll wear off pretty soon, so I'm going. Naruto's voice got cut off when he saw the Hakugiai appear in front of them, opening its mouth to eat them. The blonde shinobi and the blue Oni used their attacks to repel it up. Naruto used a sand fist to uppercut its chin. Rem summoned an ice pike from the ground to stab the same spot where the sand first punched. Their attacks managed to repel the Hakugiai. However, it wasn't over yet because the Hakugiai was right next to them. Kawazu Tataki, Frog Strike, yelled Naruto, delivering a powerful open-handed strike to the Hakugiai's, sending ripples of natural energy, and destroying the eyeball. But, after he destroyed its eyes, his Sennin mode finally worn off. His body started to release a golden aura, getting noticed by Rem, who rode the land dragon. She realized Naruto was going to use Bijuu's power to fight against the Hakugiai. The blonde was ready to fight but stopped when Wilhelm stabbed the Hakugiai with his sword. Then, the two sibling cats jumped into the air with their ligers. They shouted at the Hakugiai with their scream magic together and called Ricardo. The wolf guy and his liger landed on the Hakugiai's body, stabbing in its body as he dragged his weapon forward. It's tougher than I thought, but he ain't that strong after all, eh? Ricardo wondered. No, its resistance is far too weak. I find it hard to think that my wife. The sword saint fell to this. Looking at how we ambushed it, and how it didn't separate us with its missed first dash, Wilhelm was cut off when the Hakugiai howled and flew up into the air. Both of them fell off of its body, but Wilhelm sliced its fin before he landed on his land dragon safely. Wilhelm-san, said Naruto, seeing the old man approach them. Stay sharp. We don't know where it'll come from. Wilhelm said. Damn, he sure is taking his time. Ricardo said. They all looked around for the Hakugiai and watched out for its attack. Since Wilhelm, Ricardo, and the others are with Naruto, now he can use Sennin mode again instead of using Bijuu mode. He just needed to borrow Kurama's chakra, so he can enter Sennin mode faster. Above us. Naruto looked up at the sky, and saw a mist blast. Everyone had to scatter, escaping from the mist blast until it reached the ground. Naruto grabbed Rem's waist when they fell off their land dragon from the blast. Naruto-kun, are you okay? Rem worried. Yeah, I'm okay. He said, clenching his teeth for not using the Sennin mode. He believed that Hakugiai knows he is a threat. He could access Sennin mode in a second, but the mist seemed to be affecting the natural energy. Wilhelm. The loud voice caught Naruto's attention as he looked at Wilhelm, who collapsed. He was about to be eaten by the Hakugiai. This part brought Naruto's mind back to the past, remembering the ninjas who died in the war for him. He lost his parents, his sensei, and a good friend. It was a sad memory, but he didn't want to regret anything. He never wanted to think about their deaths again. I should have. This time he wouldn't let anyone die as long as they were his comrades. He ran toward Wilhelm and saved him from his death. He delivered a powerful elbow strike on the Hakugiai's jaw, breaking its damn teeth, and causing it to howl in pain once again. Wilhelm was shocked at the boy's speed. Naruto, you. He said, noticing his eyes looked different. His eyes were filled with fury and seriousness. I won't let anyone die on my watch. He yelled as his left arm glowed with yellow chakra. Why, you're kidding. The blonde heard one of the men speaking fearfully. He was confused until he heard howling in his ears. He turned up to the sky as his eyes tightened. He found 3 Hakugiai, flying in the sky, though it was obvious to him that the 3 were notoriously less powerful than the original. He looked at Rem, who had fear on her face, holding her hand with his to comfort her. This seemed to calm her somewhat, as she was no longer shaking. He closed his eyes, and let go of her hand, which caused her to look at him. Rem received a gentle stroke on her head, noticing his smiling smiled. She was sure she heard him whispering, "Don't worry. Leave the 3 to me," as he walked past her. Then, she felt a warm feeling from him, looking at his aura surrounding him. His sweater changed into a yellow flame cloak with black stripes on the back. His hair got even spikier than normal and changed its blonde color into a glowing yellow. His skin turned yellow and 3 black stripes replaced his whiskers. Naruto-kun, you. Rem said, shocked as she looked at his yellow fox eyes. Kurama, let's do this. He called out his partner's name with a smirk, summoning a gigantic yellow fox with black stripes. Time to kick some monster ass. Kurama smirked as he began to roar at the Hakugiai, making a powerful shockwave that blew the mist away. His roar caught everyone's attention. Emilia watched Naruto in his new form releasing his true power. She had never seen his true form before. Looking at him, he looks much more handsome than before. She felt his strength and his warmth. All her fear and horror was washed away in an instant by his yellow chakra. This feeling Naruto had. It was so nice and full of warm feelings. Even he's in Bijuu mode, he still was a light source for those around him. The battle between the shinobi and the beast has begun. Naruto in Bijuu mode dashed toward the first Hakugiai, delivering a great punch right on its jaw, and its gigantic body got slammed on the ground. The first whale tried to use mist magic, but two massive Razengans smashed against the attack and dispersed it. Naruto used two giant chakra arms to perform two massive Rasengan size to stop the Hakugi before it'll release more mist magic. The shinobi breathed calmly, he took in the running stance and eyed on the whale before he vanished in a yellow flash. Bijou Senkaden, tailed beast flash bullet. He yelled, delivering a fast combo of punches and kicks to the Hakugi. He finished with one last kick to its head and knocked it down. However, this one is a clone. The real one is up in the sky, roaming around, and resting while the two clones fight Naruto and Kurama for it. Well, Kurama didn't have any problem fighting the second clone as Naruto watched him. The gigantic yellow fox grabbed Hakugi, lifted its body, and did a wrestling move by throwing it on the ground. He raised his fist and punched straight on its face, making it howl in pain. Ah, it feels good to be outside. The fox smirked as he looked at Naruto. Naruto, take down the real one. The two clones are mine. Alright then, but don't use Bijou Dama, tailed beast bomb. You hear me? Naruto yelled as he used substitution with a recently created clone and went after the real Hakugi. Well, he had to use a sand platform to fly up. The blonde flew up into the sky to go after the real Hakugi while Kurama fights the two clones. When he saw the whale was closed, he jumped up from his sand platform and grabbed on its body with his chakra arms. Dashing toward its head, he made his first move by punching it once. Hakugi's began to fall when its head got punched by Naruto's fist. Naruto jumped off the Hakugi, continuing to attack its body without letting it go. This time, it won't escape from him because he planned to slam it on the ground from this height. The shinobi delivered an uppercut its jaw, grabbed its horn with a chakra arm in a bigger size, and broke it off before he stabbed it right up its mouth to lock it. He looked down at Kurama, already finished with his job for taking out the two clones. Then, Naruto grabbed the Hakugi with giant chakra arms and threw its massive body at the ground. Finally, he created Raisin Shuriken, aiming at the whale. Futon Raisin Shuriken. He threw the Raisin Shuriken at the whale and directly impacted its body, releasing a vortex of wind. Everyone could feel the blast from the vortex that the blonde warrior made to take down the Hakugi. The sunrise was finally up before the blast blew the mist away. Not only the mist, but the flowers were caught by the blast, flying in the air, and around him. Naruto turned around to see everyone who had shocked expressions on their faces. He entered Bijou mode, so he could protect his friends and comrades, though he could do without the spotlight, something he was sure his old self would relish in. I'm leaving right now, Naruto. Kurama said as his body faded away and received a nod from Naruto. Kurama went back inside him. Naruto sighed, relaxing as he began to walk, but he stopped once he saw Emilia coming toward him. She slowly approached him, her eyes stared at his yellow eyes and sensed the powerful chakra in him. Without second thoughts, she took his hand and grasped it, which made Naruto surprised. Emilia felt his warmth in her hand. She definitely understood now the true depths of power, and people trusted in him. He would do anything for his comrades. He maybe lost so many comrades in the war in his world, but something he had inside him. It was a spirit inside him who gave him a chance and always be in his heart. Kurama and the other Bijus chose Naruto because he was kind-hearted and respectful. He showed his kindness to them even though they're Bijus and hated humans, he still never gave up and found a way to break their hatred. Emilia understood why Kurama trusts Naruto so much and let him use his chakra. Emilia, something wrong? Naruto asked. The half-elf shook her head and lifted his hand to her cheek. You really are a hero. The greatest shinobi in the world. She smiled, having the tears on her face. His thumb cleaned the tears for her. Emilia. He said softly before he saw Wilhelm walks toward them. Wilhelm. Naruto Uzumaki, thank you for saving my life. He said as he bowed with his knee on the ground, showing great respect for his savior. Emilia-sama, your knight has saved my life and others from the Hakugi. I thank you, and I want to apologize that my race treated you like a witch. Emilia stared for a moment, before a smile crossed her face. It's fine, Wilhelm-san. Please stand up. She said. Wilhelm stood up from the ground, looking at both of them and noticed their holding hands. He smiled at them and understood why Emilia chose Naruto to be her knight. She's falling in love with him, but doesn't understand what it means. In time she would understand. Their relationship would inevitably grow one day. Her knight, Naruto Uzumaki, was the only human who could make her happy. Maybe, Naruto and Emilia could be a perfect match in the future. Hokugei has fallen. The witch fiend of fog, which has terrorized the world for centuries, has been struck by Naruto Uzumaki. That was Crush's shout. Then, everyone snapped out of their stupor and cheered for Naruto Uzumaki, who struck down Hokugei. Naruto finally deactivated his Bijou mode, but he still held Emilia's hand. They didn't let go from each other. Emilia wanted to hold his hand for a little longer or, much longer than that. If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.